Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Sana Makbul with you at PTV World. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the Senate elections and what is going to be the way that the current political dynamics of Pakistan will proceed further. And we're also hearing reports of the kind of rifts that are there in party politics, especially with reference to, of course, the ECPs order notification and how that has impacted the opposition and the seats of the PTI. This is, of course, something that has been awaited for quite some time now. But what is going to be the standing of the current political parties and, of course, the way that this is going to affect the political dynamics of KP in particular remains to be seen. For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farooq Batafi and Raja Faisal. I've also been joined online by Dr. Niaz Murtaza, who's a political analyst. Thank you very much, Dr. Niaz, for being part of the show. And I'd like your take in first in terms of the ECP's order notification, where different party positions have been affected, regardless of course, the total number of opposition.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been, a series of controversies that, the first one related to, the overall reserve seat verdict that has come from the constitutional bench. And, that's raised questions because, the constitution itself is very clear that every party should get reserve seats in proportion to its strength in that particular assembly. So you take the general seats of one party and divide it by the total general seat strength of an assembly. But in this case, what you're seeing is quite strangely that a lot of these parties, including JUI, PMLN, PPP, have more reserved seats than they actually have general seats in the KP assembly. So that raises the questions of, whether how well this tallies with the constitutional requirement of proportionality. So that's still not decided, and there's issues going on around that. Then there was the remaining issue that even if you put that on the back burner, there is the issue of how exactly to apply this formula, because this whole formula hinges on an obscure rule in the election rules. It's the clause 94. There's the constitution, then there is the election act, which is still passed by the parliament, and then there are election rules which are internal to the election commission. And so obviously they are subservient to the election act as well as the constitution. So there, the formula that Election Commission of Pakistan has is that in order to work out this formula that I had mentioned before, it takes out the number of independent seats and then calculates the General Assembly strength of each party. Normally, the number of independents is very small. So if KP's general strength is about, I think, 115 seats, normally you would have two or three independents, one or two seats may be vacant. So once election 94 rule 94 is applied, the small number of independents doesn't make much of a difference. But now you have a situation where the election commission is treating 90 members, the vast majority, about two-thirds of the members, as independents belong because they either belong to PTI or SIC, neither of which are eligible for these reserve seats according to the constitutional bench. So now when it's using this formula, the total strength is nowhere close to 115. It's coming out to something ridiculously low, something like 20, 25 seats. And there, the general seats of all these parties, like JUI has 7 or 8 or whatever, because the denominator is so small, each party is fighting for each fraction of, the totality. And that's why you had so many back and forth, back and forth. But I think a lot of it is settled. But still, the overall issue of, whether the initial decision to, deprive PTI was right or not, that still remains. And then now, in terms of the impact this will have, obviously it will have an impact on the Senate elections, which have been called later for this month, because that strength will determine who will get what number of seats. And I think they've come to some agreement right now, according to which the government parties and JUI will have a higher number of Senate seats from KP, and PTI will have less. Now that's a crucial thing, because the National Assembly, I think the government already has a majority, but in the Senate it's still short of a two-thirds majority without JUI. So all these calculations and permutations and combinations are about achieving a two-thirds majority in the Senate.
Right. Dr. Nias, what if the reports that we're hearing with regards to PTI members being disgruntled over ticket distributions within the party?
Well, obviously, it's a smaller pot that would be available if, if they had been given, their reserve seat and been recognized as an official party. The situation would have been very different. And then, the number of seats that would have come to them would have been much larger. So there is first that fact that there is a smaller number of seats available. And then there is the situation that there is so many factions within PTI, all of them fighting each other. I mean, every party has some internal discord or other, but PTI has always had this history of being, an exceptionally disorganized party within. And now what's happened to it in the last 2 years, with so many of its leaders leaving, and then, so many of them in jail, those conflicts have increased many, many more, and you don't even know who's really in charge of PTI now. There is the chief minister, there is, the party head of KP, then, there is Gahor Saab, who's, the head of the party, there's Umar Ayub Khan, there is Alima Khan. So, it's just become a khichdi, and nobody really knows who is in charge of PTI at the moment.
Right. Faisal, when we take a look at this scenario, there are reports of what can happen if the PTI actually sides with the JUIF or not, or if it gets more JUIF members on its side. What do you think will be the way forward with regards to the coalition that can be expected in JUIF?
Yeah, there are obviously vibes of coalition, and to me, I think the kind of vibes which I'm getting from different factions, as Dr. Niaz has rightly pointed out, that there are so many factions within, and who is going to get the last word? I think that needs to be checked in. And so far, there are, of course, vibes that they might not go for this. Coalition with the JUIF, and because on the boards, even if they get into that coalition, still they won't be able to make that much of a difference in context that the required seats they need to avoid the two-third. Of course, they won't be getting it anyway. So in this whole scenario, I don't think they will be going ahead with that. But overall, it was quite obviously strange to see that Barrister Gohar, who happens to be the current chairman, when he says someone to, of course, take his name back, I mean, nobody's listening to him. Reason being, of course, there is another bunch that calls itself Nazariati, or the people who are, pursuing the PTI's agenda at the core. They believe that this wasn't something which was, of course, directed to them from the ultimate chief of the party. I'm talking about the Imran Khan. And when it comes to not getting the final word from inside, and nobody being able to meet the patron-in-chief of the party, this is where the problem lies. Unless if there was that meeting in which the things would have been more clearer. And even in this context, of course, whenever we see that somebody comes out and says something, then there is another faction who says that no, it can't be true, it can't be said by the patron-in-chief from inside, there must be something else, but they are telling lies when they are coming out. So this has been happening previously as well. So even if somebody would have gone inside and met with the patron-in-chief, still they would have come outside and said something, whatever being told by the ultimate party chief. then still there would have been a faction not listening to them at all. Currently, of course, what we are hearing is that one name, Salim, he is being echoed. Reason being, he's been asked to take his papers back, but of course he's not taking his papers back, and he has the few of the members of parliament as well who are in favor of him, and they are actually sitting with him, and they have announced that they are not going to take the name back. Chief Minister of KPK, he has said him to, of course, take the name back. And then Barrister Gohar, he's been saying the same thing. Then a couple of more factions, of course, a couple of more voices from PTI, they have been saying the same, but of course the name is not being taken back. So in this whole scenario, I think Dr. Niaz has used the proper word, and that is khichdi, because that is a pudding which nobody is understanding how things are being carved. And there were 3-4 lists that have been shared on social medias as well from different factions of PTI, and who to believe. Of course, when it comes to in the modern times, even AI can generate a list, and if you are putting in a sort of paper in AI can simply give its own names. The one you tell AI to fix that, of course it can be done. And there are so many of flyers which are circulating, and as soon as somebody sees it, says that oh no, that's wrong and this is the right one. So this is the state of the affairs right now when it comes to KPK's of course assembly, and PTI as a party. It's just facing so many hurdles at this hour. Talking about that they might join hands with JUIF, I don't think that would be that easy. And which faction goes and joins hands, that too would be another debate which we might be doing in future.
Right. Farooq, what if the other parties, including the PPP and PMLN, what kind of stakes do they have in this?
Right, Sana. I think that they already have good numbers, but of course, because 11 seats are up for grab, and we know that there seems to be an agreement and there seems to be a shape of things to come, it looks likely that the government coalition is going to get 6 seats and the opposition is going to get 5, right? But I want to actually address the points that were made earlier as well. Because it is clear that PTI is in disarray, and mostly it is not unnatural, not unforeseen, because parties that are going through the kind of tough times, they are in this kind of disarray. It is a party of one leader, and that leader is behind bars. And then because the nature of that leadership is such that it immediately sees anybody who is getting very popular, case in point Shah Mahmood Qureshi, the moment they actually find traction, they start actually framing them for fall. Why? Because those people are seen as threat. So whatever is happening right now is not unpredicted. It was seen and foreseen. But it is also a consequence of mismanagement and misunderstanding of PTI's leadership 2 years ago, 3 years ago, since it was pushed out of power. Since then, they have actually tried to overwhelm the system through all means possible. And because of that, what happens is that most of this system keeps the score. And that is exactly what happened. May 9th was a turning point, because before that the party was considered a legitimate player, but all of a sudden what happened was that there were echoes of demands for banning the party. Whether that happened, whether that did not happen, but we saw that they did not get their symbol, they did not get their name, and because of that they are in the kind of disarray they are. And regarding leadership and regarding the current leadership and the dynamics within the party, of course the people who are there because A, they are articulate, but at that time of appointment they were very close to the leadership behind bars, right? So mostly lawyers. But what happened, what has changed since the last election? In the last election, when while PTI did not have its symbol, while it did not have the kind of cohesion you could have actually talked about, one thing for sure, that the central leadership, especially Secretary General and others, were quite clear who they are. And that's why what happened was that they were able to issue these lists and it was verifiable, and that's how people actually ended up voting for that party. It doesn't seem to be that clear any longer because PTI's own system is, it works like a colosseum where everybody is fighting everybody. It is like an island where everybody is continuously being voted out of the island. With that kind of circumstances, things are what they are. And then PTI has this bad habit of actually assuming too much and then shooting itself in the foot. For example, recently Zulfi Bukhari went for a testimony against Pakistan to the US, Congress. One would have asked, in what world would you think that that is going to play out well in Pakistan, right? And then their social media handles, the way they keep on mishandling narratives and attacking everybody, that doesn't seem to help their case either. Now, regarding the possibility of Maulana Fazlur Rahman's party, JUIF, going with government or opposition, the question is simple. Who do you think poses a direct threat to Maulana Fazlur Rahman's politics? Is it a PMLN? Is it People's Party? I don't think so. Or even ANP? No. It is essentially PTI. And because Maulana, when PMLN had government at the center last time in 2013 to 17, 18, at that time also Maulana's continuous criticism or point of departure from the government was only that why are you allowing these two governments, one in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and one in Balochistan, to continue while JUIF could have given you a better government. So with that kind of state of affairs, the fact is that no matter what happens, Maulana might actually use PTI to leverage a better position, but in the end, he is going to either go with a government or ruling coalition, or then he is going to stand alone. We still have to wait what becomes. We will have to wait till 21st to see what comes out.
Right. Dr. Niaz, are you still with us?
Hello?
Dr. Niaz, can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I
Dr.
can hear
Niaz,
you.
great. So, with reference to JYF in particular and what Mr. Manana is going to decide as to where tide will flow, what do you think can be expected from the party?
Well, of course, JUI and Maulana himself is one of the most seasoned politicians in Pakistan. His own party is not in disarray. There were some divisions and all. But whatever is left with him, he's fully in charge of that. He understands the local dynamics as well as the national dynamics. And he, strategizes very, very rationally. He doesn't get carried out of by emotions, and he has a cool head on his shoulders. So obviously, he's going to look at what is his party and his own benefit in the long term. There is, obviously the fact that he's still upset with PMLN and the PPP because, the three of them were part of the PDM, but then, after the elections, they completely cold-shouldered the Maulana, did not consider him, uh, invited him to, join the coalition. So obviously he's very upset with that. But then he also realizes that, neither PPP nor PMLN give him the same kind of competition in KP that PTI can. PMLN's strength in KP is restricted to, the Hazara division, which is not the strength of JUI. Similarly, PPP manages to, win some seats. Chitral, which is also not a main hub. For the Maulana, the main hub is especially, Dera Ismail Khan, South KP, and then, moving into Peshawar Valley. So he's, playing a very smart game of, just staying in the middle and making sure that, he can get the maximum from both sides. So there was some suggestion made to him to look for doing a vote of no confidence in KP. But the Maulana refused, recognizing the very grim situation in the province, and then the thin majority that he'll have, and then the fact that he'll have to form a coalition, a weak coalition government with PPP, PMLN, and them having the federal government's power behind them would be able to really put a lot of pressure on him. So he's playing a very delicate game. He's wholeheartedly accepted the reserve seats despite all the controversy around them, and he's trying to maximize the number of reserve seats that he can get, as well as the Senate seats that he can get, but then without trying to ruffle PTI's feathers too much. So it's a very intelligent game that he's playing, and I think that will help him in the long run in terms of reestablishing its base in KP, and looking at the next elections and being in a more powerful position to dictate to PMLN and PPP to take him more seriously and give him a bigger share of the spoils, both at the federal level as well at the KP level.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Niaz, I understand there's some sort of agreement already in place, but do you think that there can be surprises as usual with Pakistan elections?
Yeah, obviously, things can change at the last moment. But I think, they've gone through an exercise, they've talked to each other. There was a lot of back and forth with, the decision itself, and then, the very complicated formula that ECP uses. But I think most of it is now through, and I don't expect any major surprises. The major surprises might come once everybody has won the reserve seats, the Senate seats, and then there'll be a question of whether there are going to be any permutations and combinations, a realignment. So I think that's the more important question rather than anything of a major big surprise in the Senate elections. Once it's done, what happens in the Senate? What kind of strategies then these different parties adopt, whether they look to bring about a change in KP, and if they are able to get their two-thirds majority in Senate, what kind of other constitutional amendments, because there's so many rumors around about major changes in the structure of governance and so on. So I think the real focus is now on those issues after the elections.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Niaz Murtaza, for joining us and being a part of the discussion. Faisal, I want your take on that, because what Dr. Niaz has just pointed out is important in terms of what happens after these elections, and we've seen the way that KP's political history has evolved. So in terms of these important decisions and the kind of role that both the opposition and the current government will have to play, and whoever, of course, is able to win these seats as well, where do you think are the key issues that need to be addressed, and what sort of structural changes are required?
Yes, and now obviously, when we talk about the key issues, even if we take the example of today, I mean, our own program is talking about this, and though we yesterday, because it was need of the hour, we were taking up the core issues which are being faced by people at large, and that was the flooding. And if we take the example of all over private media houses, even today, all of them, they are talking about Senate, and yesterday it was the same, and nobody discussed and highlighted what people are suffering at this hour. But overall, if we take the political parties, as we were talking about JUIF, I think JUIF, never wants the government in KPK right now. Reason being, they know that they have a very loose kind of situation out there, and they don't want to get a center stage where everything is expected or can go wrong anytime. And what they wanted to achieve was, as we know, that they have been playing a very pivotal role in terms of whenever there was a make or break, they were standing in the middle, and right at the end their door was being knocked by all of the other parties, be it PTI or be it People's Party or PMLN. This is the kind of situation they love. Maulana Fazlur Rahman, he is known for being someone who takes the political game till the end, and this time around getting more seats for the Senate, that would ensure that he would be having more on the table to negotiate about, and he knows how to play his cards. All he wanted was just to grab on more power, and more the seats, better the position to, of course, negotiate with other political parties, and I think he just wants to go along with that. When we talk about JUIF, what kind of colors it is showing right now, of course, they don't want to have a bad relation with the KPK's government, and they want to keep themselves in the good books of the KPK government and PTI as a political party. What they are doing is, right now they are even giving the statements about that if there is a 27th amendment in the constitution, they will be protesting against it. And I am telling you right now, when there is a time for 27th amendment, that party is going to linger it on till the last day, and the decider would be coming out from their side. And this is their style of politics. When it comes to government has a very secure position in terms of having majority in the the lower house and upper house as well, and that is going to be, of course, increased as well, and this is going to be a more favorable position for the government. And overall, PTI, I think there are many challenges for PTI in coming days, and when we will be seeing in further down, if there is an amendment or constitutional amendment in coming days and months, we will be seeing the fruits of this very Senate election. And so far, I mean, I am I am a little confused about PTI. If they are having more people contesting this election, then they might end up losing a couple of more seats, and them seats they might go elsewhere. And I think that's how the political parties are seeing the KPK's Senate election, and I think it is going to be a very interesting one.
Absolutely. And Farooq, when we speak about the kind of convergence that we need, or the kind of decision making that is required as part of the Senate, when we talk about these elections and the time before that, there seems to be a lot of talk about how the parties interact with each other and who's on whose side. But what about after the elections? Do you think that this sort of convergence still exists between the parties when we talk about a province's problems?
Right. Thank you very much, Sana. That is, you actually don't make any bones about these things. You cut to the chase. This is the pivotal, as my brother keeps on saying, pivotal question. It speaks to the nature of political power and politics in Pakistan. One of our good friends, very senior journalist, Zaid Hussain, when in 2018 elections, he was asked who is going to be the next ruler of the country. So he quoted the name of an Indian film, Dulan Wahi Jo Piyaman Bhai. Wife is going to be who actually appeals to the heart of the husband, right? And in that context, he was referring to the security establishment of the country, right? Remember that all these parties, especially the parties that are not in power or are in out of favor, their main struggle has been to come to the positive, good books of the security establishment. It breaks my heart that this is how Pakistan's politics works, but they usually try to want to be the blue-eyed boys or the girls of the establishment, and that's it. Once they are not, they will do everything silly to get attention, but in the end, the actual appeal is to that, not to the common man on the street. So at this moment, of course, they will keep on playing games with each other, and they are very serious concerns. You are absolutely right. On one side, while inflation might be going down, but there are extraneous shocks to the system, especially our economy. You have seen how one possible war could have actually escalated the prices of oil. Similarly, so much going on in the region elsewhere. So we should be working together. Will that happen? I don't think so. Remember that before PTI was ever, blue-eyed boys of the security establishment, there was one person who was always there close to that heart, and that was Maulana Fazlur Rahman. Because during Afghan Jihad they played a very important role. Then after 9/11, when the country actually decided to go after terrorism, at that time also the establishment needed support of the clergy and clerical class. So they actually latched on to Maulana Fazlur Rahman, and he actually became the opposition leader and was this close to becoming Prime Minister of Pakistan. So all these people actually keep on trying to return to their old roles. Will that happen? I don't know. But at this moment, the country seems to be actually regaining its momentum. So I think that things are going to look up for a bit. The only problem is that PTI does not seem to understand, and nor can we, how to actually regain the confidence they lost on May 9th and since. Because of this testimony that I spoke about, the only reality is that it is the age of realpolitik. Every country is going to actually look at their own core interests. So if they align, they are going to accept whatever there is in Pakistan. If they don't align, they are going to use everything to actually leverage Pakistan compliance or support. So in any case, you are not helping yourself because you are not helping your country. And because of that, these people, and especially the social media, out of control accounts, they keep on attacking state in every which way possible, and that doesn't seem to be harming the state so much as their own image and their own leadership that might be behind bars. And there are many luminaries that should have actually gotten out, but they haven't been able to. One leader is, I understand whatever it is, but people like Shah Mahmud Qureshi and umpteen others, their own party seems to have given up on them, right? They are not even mentioned in any kind of public statements by any leader. They had to write letters to their own leader, who is also behind bars, that have you forgotten us, right? So this is the nature of political power in Pakistan. Anybody who says that there is a democratic undercurrent, that actually undermines their own politics. Everybody looks to somewhere else when they want to stay in power or they want to come to power.
Right. Thank you very much, Farooq, for joining us in the debate and sharing your views. Thank you, Faisal, for doing the same. Of course, it remains to be seen what will be the results and the way forward for these elections, but we'll be here to talk about it when they happen on the 1st of this month. That's all that we have from the show today. We'll now see you tomorrow.